Sorry, Bryson just missed.
I can't. I'm delayed. Shut up.
No, he didn't. It was a replay.
Welcome back to the Compound Podcast. This is episode 213. 213 of the Compound Podcast. I hope that's right. Presented by Parse Rum. Our friends at Parse. Go to Binny's. They're back in Binny's. Go to Binny's and get your Parse Rum. Parse will be the sponsor of the Compound Live on June 20th, Thursday, June 20th, Music Box Theater. Big announcement this week. Ryan Sandberg is going to be joining us for the Compound Live. We will also have Jameson Tyon, Steele, Jan Gomes, Nico Horner. We are super excited. Tom's getting fired up. Tom, show me your fired up face.
Can I say, I tweeted about this, but we're getting you can make an argument. I had a conversation with my buddy. He's one of the three greatest living Cubs. I would say he's probably the greatest living Cub right now, Ryan Sandberg. He's having a statue unveiled on Sunday, and we're talking to him Thursday in Wrigleyville on stage. It's going to be really cool. That's a really special thing. And obviously he's had his health issues as well. And so the fact that we're able to get him there and he's in good health now and able to come is just awesome. And the t-shirts as well, we put those up thanks to our friends at Obvious Shirts. All of those are going to support cancer charities and cancer research. So if you can't come as well, and you want to support Rhino and everything else going on, you can help us, you can support us that way as well. So really, I'm really fired about the live show. And if you're on the fence thinking about getting tickets, Compound 30. Don't forget about the promo code. That gets you a $30 ticket. We'd love to see you out there. This is the first time we're doing this. And it would mean a lot to us if, people showed up and are there to see Ryan Sandberg and all the different great guests that we have. We have all the giveaways. Zach, did you send your bat? I'm just going to ask you on air. Did you send your bat?
You betcha.
Okay. Zach's got a
Look
signed
me in the
bat.
eyes and tell me you did.
You betcha.
No, you didn't. You didn't even send your bat. I got all the jerseys signed. All the jerseys are signed. They're ready to go.
Zach promised on Friday he was going to send us the bat.
You're scum, huh?
It's on its way. Give me a break.
Better overnight it tomorrow.
I'm overnighting it.
So we may or may not have a Zack Short bat to give away, but we also got first base Wrigley, an Ian Happ signed jersey. We'll have a lot of really cool stuff. We're playing Duck, Duck, Goose in the audience. I might be asking some trivia questions. I think that's how we're going to give away some prizes. So if you want to study up on your compound trivia, your baseball trivia, it might not be a bad idea if you're coming to the live show. Might help you win some pretty cool stuff. But really, we'd love to see you 7 o'clock Thursday, Music Box Theater.
Tom, I got a question for you.
MusicBoxTheater.com.
You just nailed that. How long have you been practicing that line? Those lines right there.
First time I thought about it right now. It's Father's Day. I got a lot going on. I'm ready to go, baby. We're fired up.
That was pretty good.
We're fired up. We're fired up.
That was pretty good.
I have two things to start the show. Here's my thing number one. We played a 12:05 game today. We always play 120s at Wrigley, 12:05 for Roku. Let me tell you, 12:05 is early to get your body going. Whenever we have an Apple TV or a Roku game, we kind of get in because they want to do it at 1:05 Eastern, so we get the 12:05 slot. It is very challenging to get your body ready for a 12:05. Go ahead.
And I don't know if you guys had it with Roku, but with Apple and like Fox, the in-between innings are longer too.
Yeah.
And like it's wild how much of a routine you get in. Like you can just feel like the flow of the game when it's, I don't know what it is. I think it's a minute 45 for regular season games, like in between innings.
It's like 220 for TV games.
Yeah. And like especially as an infielder, like you get your routine, you'll probably throw two and a half, baseball's the first. And then on these ones, it's like you do it and you're like, hey, I'm good. And then you look up and there's still like a minute 30 left and you're like, oh shit. Like
I don't go out there. I'm very lucky. Especially at home, I only have to play catch with the bullpen.
Yeah.
So I don't go out there until there's like a minute 30 on the clock. And it does take like an inning to be like, oh shit, I got to make sure that I don't go out there. Cause especially like today in Chicago, it's 95 degrees, super hot. It's the hottest day that we've had this year. Heat, humidity, sweatiness. And so it was like very much making sure I wasn't going out early. But in addition to that, we had the post-game urine and blood test today. So I got urine and blood after a 95-degree game, took me a while to get hydrated enough to get it out.
We I had that too in Boston the second day, and the Boston locker room bathroom situation, that's a tough spot to do
Tight in
poop
there.
and pee.
Yeah. We had that. They came in when we were in Boston too, probably same day. Or I
Dude,
guess not same day, but they came in Boston in our locker room, our away locker room, tight squeeze. I mean, they are in the way.
dude. Your shit people are coming in and out of the shower. You're sitting there. I mean, in the middle of the bathroom basically, and guys are trying to walk by. It's fucking basically nuts to butts in there. Like you can't, it's hard to move, bro, and you're just sitting there waiting to get your blood drawn.
Yeah, you feel so bad as the guy that's getting drug tested in that situation. You're like, I'm so sorry. I'm
I'm
so sorry.
sorry,
It's not my fault. I'm so sorry. Those are my things to open the show. That's what was happening today in Chicago.
Tell you what, the Braves offense might be clicking. Lost today, but Austin Riley homers three straight.
Three straight homers,
Um,
games with
three
a homer.
straight games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's electric stuff.
Yeah, today was a huge one in the eighth inning to tie it up, down by two with like a really long at bat against Jason Adam. I think 10 or 11 pitches, hits a homer right center, tie it up. Like
What
just
what pitch did he get?
I think he got a heater. He got everything throughout the at bat, like
Yeah, yeah.
everything, and then he hit. I'm pretty sure he hit a heater right center. Um,
Jason
and you
Adams has
can
a
just
crazy
tell,
mix.
like,
He's got a crazy mix. We faced him in Tampa. I did. He's got spinning his fastball at 27, 2800. He's got a changeup at 90 miles an hour that goes straight down. He's got a slider. I mean, he's got a pretty crazy mix.
and the sweeper too. So like we were sitting on the bench, and our the one scoreboard shows the sequence, and it said, a bunch of sliders and a bunch of sweepers. And I was like, oh wow, I didn't realize that he had both. And the one guy next to me was like, no, I think they're probably pretty similar. And I was like, I mean, one's 5 miles an hour different. Like that's a lot of pitches to think about.
Yeah, a lot of pitches, like a lot of plus pitches. Jason Adam, good dude. He was a Cubby, and he's really, I mean, he was good with us, and he's really figured it out in Tampa.
When you guys face like a great fastball, slider, sweeper, whatever we're calling it these days, guy, are you going up there just trying to eliminate one? Like, especially before two strikes, you like, I'm just going to sit fastball until I get to two strikes, or I'm just going to sit slider until I get one?
For the most part, I think you're trying to eliminate the hardest part, and what guys are doing now. It's why pitchers are so good is the tunneling thing where they're looking at how their pitches play off each other. And so they're throwing fastballs up and then the kind of the sweeper slider thing, for a lefty, like to your belt line. And then like the fastball down comes out of the same window that the slider to your back foot comes out of. So Jason Adam, for example, with his changeup, like his changeup has to start kind of like at the top of the zone to be a strike. It has so much depth. So if you're looking for a middle fastball and he throws the changeup on the same line, it's basically going to be in the dirt. So you're trying super hard to pick a spot in the zone where the pitch that you're looking for can start. And some guys you can have multiple pitches start out of that window and you can still handle them. And some guys it's just like, well, I have to look in one spot for one specific pitch. And that's what makes some of these guys, but especially some of the late inning relievers with the stuff that they have so challenging is that their pitches play off each other really well, and you're looking kind of in one specific spot to try to eliminate as many strike to ball pitches that you would swing at as possible.
The tough one now too is like guys are throwing at the bottom of the zone again, where they have, like the two seam and change up off of each other, or two seam and splitter, where like that is just as hard as, a few years ago when like Verlander and Cole were doing the, top of the zone heater with the 12-6 banger off of that. And now it's, I mean, I'm sure they've been doing it the same time, but you always heard about the high heater and stuff. And then now, like Edwin Diaz, DeGrom, the four seamers, the sinker, whatever, down, and then the slider off of that. It's like that's tunneling 101 right there.
Yeah, Ben Brown's really good at it. Ben Brown's a great example of like he can throw his fastball down in the zone and then his 88 mile an hour curveball, whatever you want to call it, off that, and it goes, kind of down under to the earth or just under the zone. So
but it's both very hard to fire at that fastball that has carry at the bottom because of the angle. It looks like it's going to be a ball and then it sticks in the bottom. And then it's probably your best pitch to hit. But if you're geared up for 97 down there and he throws the 88-mile-an-hour curveball off that, you're going to be swinging at a pitch at 55 feet and looking like an idiot. So it's a really hard mix. Guys have done a better job too recently of throwing both a four and a sinker or a two seam, whatever you want to call it. So guys will throw a four seam fastball and then a two seam fastball runner, and they're both 95, 98 miles an hour and going in opposite directions. And so even if metrically it's not a great pitch, it keeps you off the other pitch. Like today, we're facing Michaelis, and he threw me a four seam in. He struck me out with a sinker in the first at bat, 3-2. I swung under, started up and ran across the zone, just didn't come down like I thought it would. And then in the second at bat, he threw me a four seam with two strikes that cut like three balls. And so it came out as a four, and I was like, oh, that's going to be on the inner corner. And then it cut like three balls in. And you're like, well, you shouldn't be able to throw both of those. You have to pick one. I got a couple new rules for pitchers. One is two lines directly down the mound, can't be stepping in the dugout and throwing anymore. And the other one is you have to pick one fastball. Can't throw two, just one. Got to throw a four or two. You have to declare. It's like when you have to declare if you're going from the windup or the stretch or the kind of third. You have to declare I'm throwing a four seam.
I'm throwing fours today.
Yep, fours.
I just sent Michael King had a really good pitching ninja when you talk about the tunneling. I just sent it in our chat. 94 painted two seam with 22 inches of run, and then 84 sweeper with 14 inches of break. And there's a spot where basically they're moving in different directions, but they meet at the same point, and then both go in the opposite direction. And it's like, I don't know how in the world people loved it. There's been a couple stories about, I forget, it was Caleb Williams or someone was saying that they thought they could hit 200 in baseball. Some of these other athletes. You watch something like that, and I'm like, I don't know how anyone ever gets a hit ever. Like the fact that anyone actually makes contact is kind of impressive.
Somebody said in the dugout the other day, they were like, baseball in 2024, where a guy's slider can have more vertical break than his fastball. And that's another good example of like baseball in 2024, a time where a guy's fastball can run more than his slider. It just like guys throwing 17 to 20 inches of lateral movement on a 95-mile-an-hour pitch. Like it's craziness. It's a jungle out there. It's an absolute jungle. Guys are throwing just the craziest stuff, but it's kudos to the pitchers like that. They are doing their job at an elite level. They are, finding new pitches, finding ways to get guys out. Like that's what they're paid to do. It's what they should do. Can't handicap them for that. They're doing exactly what they should be doing. Baseball technology is just heavily weighted in the pitcher's favor right this second.
Why do we think this? Because obviously relief pitchers have gotten more dominant over the years and velocities ticked up, and we could attribute some of that to drive line and some of the weighted ball techniques and different things. But what do you think's been, and it's too bad Dakota couldn't be with us on this episode, but what do you think is it causing these? I mean, not as you're saying, guys didn't used to throw 22 inches of run on a fastball. That's not typical. And now you're seeing that that's becoming much more common. Why do we think that's happening?
Well, it's like I don't know what Greg Maddox's numbers were, but like I'm sure Maddox, like the way that he moved the baseball, like would still be elite today. It's just guys are doing it with higher velocity. I think guys are training from a young age to do this. From the time that they're 12 years old, they're training for velocity or trying to throw as hard as they possibly can with better training, better techniques for rotation, for obliques, for arm care, arm maintenance, the things that make your arm actually like training for layback. Like I saw a kid in spring training this year doing the craziest shit I've ever seen on a cable pulley where he's like his arm is touching his ass and he's like guys are training to like lay their arm back and like get that extension and like how that creates. In addition to that, you're talking about the technology and high speed cameras and the ability to see that as the ball comes off your fingers, just guys are in a lab. It's actually a lab. That's what it's called, with a high-speed camera that can see the way the ball comes off the fingers in the slowest motion possible. And so you can see like guys will mess with like together or apart or what seam and what pressure with what finger and how that creates the spin on the ball. And so it's not guesswork. It used to be guys would figure out how to throw that pitch. Mario Rivera figured out how to throw the best cutter that's ever been thrown. And it was a feel thing, and he had a feel for how he would throw it and where the pressure came from, and he had like massive fingers, and it's like, yeah, he's a unicorn. And then guys now, you can look at on the camera and try 50 different things. It's like, yep, that's elite. That's elite. Splitters, never seen more
Splitters.
splitters in the game. Like,
Splitters are back, dude.
yeah, the splitters are crazy. Like everybody that has, like, it used to be guys that would throw hard high fours, they would have to throw a 12-6 curveball off of that. And now it's like, well, if you have that arm, like the pitching side knows, like, if you have this arm angle, here's like the three pitches that might work for you. And like one of the like guys that have that straight four, like they can't throw a circle change. Like they can't throw a true changeup. It's harder for them because they don't pronate. Like guys that throw sinkers, they pronate, and so you pronate the changeup, and so it's easier for them to throw like a circle change or a true change. And now they're guys that throw like the true four. It's like, well, let's try the splitter because it's the same action. And now you have like Jeremiah Estrada in San Diego who's throwing like the Vulcan thing. I can't even do it with my fingers. I can't Vulcan myself, but like throwing the Vulcan change, they got him to like completely split it. You know, you have some guys like Skeens like splits outside the seams to throw his splitter at 95, but like and he didn't have that. I don't think he had that pitch in college. I think he learned it in professional baseball. So you know, these guys with elite stuff that already have elite stuff might have had one or two elite pitches. Now it's like, well, let's give you a third or fourth pitch that plays off your other ones and makes guys elite. And I hate it. I'm sick about it.
I saw a clip about Estrada talking about his splitter. He said that like, he was trying different things, couldn't find it. And then one day, like he found the grip and like he was just like walking around the house, like everywhere he was going, he had a ball in his hand to try to learn that grip again.
Yeah, and we had him here and he was really good, kind of an elite fastball. The slider didn't play as well here. And so he was a two-pitch guy. And I don't know if he didn't, his heater was in the zone, but not like maybe not in the zone enough, or the slider didn't play like as well. And so guys kind of eliminated, hitters are really good too. If you're just throwing 100 down the like in the zone every time or getting two accounts and having to throw 100 in the zone, like guys are going to hit it because hitters are really, really good. But it shows you like if you can add one other pitch to make your mix that much deeper, how much it can change like the trajectory of a guy's career. And everybody throws a billion.
It's interesting you talked about how much of it is now, the lab stuff. I worked with a man, Jim Clem, who we would in summer ball, who would get pretty much every Pac-12 arm. Anyone on the West Coast that wanted to learn a changeup would come pitch for the Bells, the Bellingham Bells the team worked for. Spencer Howard, who went on to be a second-round pick, credited his entire changeup to this one man, Jim Clem, awesome person, also a great coach, but he was like the changeup whisperer. And it was like, all right, we're going to send the guys up there and figure out how to throw a changeup. And as you said, it's so different now because obviously this was even 2016, not that long ago, 2016, 2017. It was all about feel. It was all about, hey, we're going to try this in the game. We're going to not worry about the results. And it was all these different things. And now, a guy learns how to throw a changeup. He's going to the lab. It's in just a really short amount of time. It's really changed dramatically.
Yeah, and the amount of trial and error of like when you're doing it with feel of like throwing in the bullpen and being like, that looks great. Like, looks great. How's it feel? I think it's nasty. Like then you get in the game and like you get some guys out. It's like, yep, good job. It's not like, no. Here are the metrics of like what an elite changeup looks like. And it is either yes or no, or close or not close. And so guys I think they can eliminate like the trial and error period so much. And like in an off season, and that's talk about arm injuries, but like guys having to like you have to throw it at max effort to try to create those numbers. And if you're doing that in the offseason, working on a pitch, working on a splitter, working on something like you have to throw at max effort to get the numbers to see how it is.
That's the thing. Yeah. Especially with splitters, bro. Like the thought of it just hurts to me. Like
I can't, yeah.
Ripping a splitter, bro. Like, oh, it's so hard though, because like, I don't want to talk about injuries too much, but it's such a give and take. Like if somebody comes up to you and says, hey man, this is going to change your life. but hey, you might get hurt doing it. It's like, okay, where do I sign up? Like,
Yeah. I mean, like if you can get this pitch, like you're going to be dominant and you're going to be a guy that can have like a legit chance out of the bullpen of having a 2-2 all year and like punching out the world, but you might blow out. It's like every single person at this level who's competing the way that we're competing with the dollars on the line, but like that competitive, like, yes, 100%.
yeah,
100%. Like if you told me that I could hit 50 homers a year or like steal 50 bags, like I have to do one thing to get faster, steal 50 bags, I might tear a hamstring. I'd be like, yeah,
where
tell me
do I?
what it is. Like, yeah, here's the thing that's going to make you hit 50 homers and hit 280 every year. You might tear your oblique. It's like, sure, I'm in.
Yeah, right.
I'll figure the rest of it out.
I mean, this was ultimately the conversation with a lot of the steroids guys back in the day. It was like, right? It was like, hey, you're going to do this thing that may take years off your life, but it may also give you the ability to change your entire life and set up your family for generations. We see time and time again, people are willing to do that, even if they understand the risk, and
Yep.
that risk is.
Zach and I are talking about isn't necessarily cheating, but I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yep. There's some similarity there. There is some similarity.
It's funny. I was just gonna agree with Tom, and I'm like, as I was thinking, I was like, wait, no, I can't agree with that.
I can't say that cheating's okay. I can't justify cheating.
Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, bases full, down 3, the crowd on their feet. The drama of baseball is real, and so is all the action on the DraftKings Sportsbook. From the first pitch to the final out, DraftKings has you covered with same-game parlays, live betting, odds boost, and so much more. And if you're new to DraftKings, you got to check this out. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code COMPOUND. New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's code COMPOUND only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or in West Virginia, visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.co/baseball for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
Dakota is not with us, and we didn't address it, but we
No.
should address it.
No, he skipped
Dakota,
it.
what?
He skipped it.
He skipped it. Yeah. We were like, Dakota, you want to record today? He was like, absolutely not. It's my off day. I hate you all. No, that's not what happened. He was at a wedding and was flying back. We couldn't make it work because he was going to get back so late, but thankfully we didn't wait because he has a 3-hour delay and he's not going to get in until like 1 a.m. Pacific. So he will be at the live show. He flew to a wedding. He's flying back. He's going to be in Seattle for a couple of days, and then he's on his off day. He's going to fly out for the compound, sleep on my pool. It's not a pull out. It's a Murphy bed, and then he's going to fly back. So he's a road warrior right now. He's going to be really upset he missed that pitching discussion. He could have added some nice contact, but I think we did a good job. I think we really covered it.
Nice.
I don't really think we needed it.
No, I
Yep.
agree.
Yep. Didn't need him at all. Tom,
Yes,
your Yankees, man. They're doing it.
playing some good ball.
Aaron Judge is unbelievable, huh?
They had Judge yesterday. They had it since May 4th, which is obviously like May the 4th. It's like a Star Wars thing. They had a graphic last night that came up on screen on the Fox broadcast of all of his stats since that ejection on May the 4th. Zach, what happened? We're recording this Father's Day. Golf's going on. Zach, what happened? You could just.
No,
Jack, you're ahead of me. You can't do that. You can't do that. What happened was Rory's on the 18th green. He had a downhill, tricky left to right or downhill, and he missed it. And now he's got a bogey putt. DeChambeau is also in the trash off the tee. So this could be a bogey finish to go to a playoff. It's electric right now. It's electric. We're testing and we're watching. If he missed this next one, I'm going to fight you.
I said to my dad before we started recording, it's like, it's going to be like right around 18th green time at the U.S. Open. I don't love the participation ability of this podcast right now.
Okay. So May the 4th, Aaron Judge.
They had a graphic where it had all of his stats kind of coming in like they do in the Star Wars, in Star Wars where they come in, and it was just every single one first, first, first. He's basically first in the majors in every category since May 4th, and in every stat basically on the season now. He's having somehow almost a better year than 2022, which he's on pace right now to have a better year than the year that he broke the American League home run record. I there's not much more to say.
I mean, it's
And they get
incredible.
Garrett Cole back this week too. It looks like he's probably going to start this week again for them. So
I'm just like every time I open my phone, there's just a highlight of Judge hitting a homer, and it's just like this guy hits a homer every night. It's a homer every single night. I'm fired up when I get a hit.
you had a nice little righty homer the other day.
Yeah, you homered yesterday. Stayed through a changeup,
I
right?
did.
Speed.
Slider. Hey, did you see, Zach? You'll like this one. Did you see Patrick Wisdom's ball that didn't go out?
Brother. I was announcing that in the clubhouse like it was mine.
So I'm sure a lot of our listeners saw this, but Patrick Wisdom hit a ball to left field in the 8th inning of our Friday night game. Wind was blowing in. It was a stiff breeze in, but he hit the ball 111 at 33 to the not to center field, dead pull, like dead pull down the line. 111 at 33 is a homer every single time, and especially to the pull side. And he
stood up on it. I mean, he's not a guy that stands up on it. He
He
thought
stood up on it. We all stood up. The pitcher just
Did you see the pitcher?
He asked for a new ball. It's ready.
He couldn't believe it.
And it stayed in the park, got caught on the track, and it's still, in our dimensions at regular 355 down the line, it still would have been a homer at like 10 out of 30 parks, even with like how bad it got knocked down. I mean, it was just like.
Did you see they were saying on Twitter it lost 62 feet because of the wind? That was the number I saw, which is
62,
just an insane amount.
I mean, yeah, the difference between a 410-foot homer and an out.
Imagine if the wind was blowing the other way, how much.
Dude, it was blowing like that today. It was blowing out today. It was one of the first times it's blown out in a long time, maybe the third time all year. And I was thinking about that today. I was thinking if he hit that today, it would have gone on to the rooftops. But also, the wind was blowing out today at a really stiff breeze. There was one homer in the whole game. There's 2-1, one homer. Couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. And though we didn't get the metrics on the one homer today. It was not hit. It was not hit homer hard. It was definitely wind aided. Jameson Tyne did a great job. 6 innings, 2 runs, and the 2 runs were on a probably 95 off the bat homer because of the wind. But can I just say one thing about Jameson Tyne real quick? Guest of the pod.
Say the guest of the live show as well.
Guest of the live show, June 20th, Musicbox Theater, musicboxtheater.com, Compound 30. 1,000 innings for him today. 1,000 innings, big career accomplishment. Really awesome. So that's a big one. I think in all of the baseball stats and how top heavy Hall of Fame stuff and 200 wins and 300 wins and 3,000 Ks and all that stuff, like the longevity to stick in the big leagues and get to 1,000 innings is super impressive. And I'd like to commend him on it.
Especially with all this shit that he has gone through too. Like
two Tommy Johns. He's got a super interesting story, and we'll talk more about it on the live. But like, second overall.
Hey, yeah, leave it.
Yeah, no, we'll leave it. But just to fire the people up, Yep. Second overall pick, I believe. Second overall pick could have been third.
Second, he was in between. Second. You know who he was in between?
No.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Bryce Harper and Machado.
That's pretty good.
I think. Tom, but research team?
Where's the research team? I haven't talked to the research team in a long time. Second overall pick between Harper and Machado. But he, high school pitcher, Pirates organization, just kind of like the stuff he was doing in high school, how he had to like everything that he went through in the minor leagues, had a TJ, made it to the big leagues, pitched well, had to have another TJ, ends up with the Yankees, all that stuff. But that'll just get the people fired up for the live show. Tom, I'd like to talk about our friends at Bruce Bolt, brucebolt.us. Bruce Bolt, all of your baseball needs for the summer, batting gloves, you need batting gloves for the summer, brucebolt.us. Do you need, Zach, you have to stop.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Delayed. brucebolt.us. Do you need, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my, it's an unbelievable shot. It's an unbelievable shot. I'm sorry to Bruce Bolt. I'm sorry to the fans. DeChambeau just hit a ball out of the bunker he needed to hit it close to win, and he might just win. BruceBolt.us for the 17th time, baseball pants, game hats, protective gear, you need elbow guard, you need a shin guard, you need batting gloves, BruceBolt.us. Go check it out. My gloves, maybe got something coming. Tom, do you have voicemails for us?
I do. I have a couple voicemails.
We're gonna do a little fan question brought to you by our friends at Bruce Bolt. Tom's gonna hit us with the old fan question.
All right, here we go.
What's up, boys? This is Anthony Jablonski calling from Roanoke, Virginia, and I just got questions for you all. How does analytics affect your playing strategy going into every game? Like, what role is analytics in from your view? And how do you think you would perform without them, you know? Anyways, keep up the great work. I enjoy listening to every episode of The Compound, and I hope to hear y'all's thoughts soon. Love you guys.
That's interesting. It's like analytics or scouting. Like analytics? Like,
Yeah, I mean, he kind of used it as a catch-all, I think, for a couple different things.
yeah,
But
I think analytics as far as like pitch metrics and you know, I think that has an effect a little bit. I think we know a little bit more about how guys stuff plays with extension and spin rates and that kind of stuff. But like offensively for analytics, I'll look at some swing metrics on our system, just as like checkpoints to make sure that things aren't getting out of whack. But I think analytics in general are used more, a little bit more on the pitching side, but also a little bit more on like predictive and assessing value on players and that type of stuff. I think scouting is kind of more of what we use in a day-to-day.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't really do much analytic. The length of that I go to is just like what Ian said about pitchers and stuff, just kind of what their scouting and their tendencies are. That's kind of really it. But it's used way more on the pitching side than hitting.
Because it's controllable.
I guess defense too, though. I guess it's scouting as well.
Yeah, but I think like the analytics that we use on the defensive side are like where guys are going to hit the ball, predicting that out over the course of the year and just like looking at their spray. It's not as much like it used to be like you kind of look at a guy's spray chart and be like, well, but now you can kind of analytics can take it a step farther in predicting where guys are going to hit it based off of certain pitchers, based off of what pitches that pitcher throws. But also, we're using analytics to play a little bit deeper, to play a little bit different spots. And I think that you could call that analytics a little bit more than scouting on the defensive side. But pitchers use it because similar to golf, like they start with the ball. They get to control the ball out of their hand. It's not always perfect, won't always be, but they are kind of searching for a number or looking for a certain pitch in a certain situation where what we're doing is very reactive. What's the next one, Tom?
Hey boys, this is Mike calling from Minnesota. I have a question for Shorty. When you move teams in season, what's the onboarding process like when you got picked up by Boston and then subsequently when you got picked up by the Braves? How do they get you up and running and ready to go on, a day's notice, basically? Really love to hear about what's that like. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.
Thanks for the question, Mike. Is there an onboarding that you go through? A week? Like in the corporate world, like you would have an onboarding and you
there's none of that.
Can you imagine? That would be great if they were like, hey, we traded for you. This morning, you're going to sit in a 2-hour seminar. We're going to give you the history of the organization. You're going to get a real understanding for it.
No, I mean, the hardest thing is kind of just the unknown of like what teams need, what if they like you or not. Like, they're only going to tell you or your agent so much, and chances are like they're not telling you really what their plans are. And then, like I got called, 5 days, I think, after I was designated by the Mets. And I was in Boston that night. Just, granted, I was home, so it was only 3 hours away, but usually it's like, hey, we got you. Congrats, or, welcome. Um, where are you flying, or where do you want to fly in or from? Well, you'll meet the team either today or tomorrow. And then, you're active most likely either that day or the next day. Um, and I got lucky because even when I got picked up by the Braves, they were flying to New York the next day or that day. So I just stayed at home and then met them the next day in New York. I'm sure it's a lot harder for guys who have their shit absolutely everywhere. Like the only things I have two suitcases in my golf clubs with me. Like my car is home. I only have like 3 or 4 pairs of shoes with me. Like it's just kind of,
You were living at home, so you weren't like you didn't have to
yeah.
like the place and get out of it and stuff.
Right, which is truly the best part about all. Like I got super lucky. I'm very happy that it worked out like that to this point. Because that shit's a fucking grind. Like,
Yeah.
you know, even in the minor leagues, and like you get moved up or down, like finding or getting a spot, you don't know if you're like it's different for you. You get moved up in the minor leagues, you're probably gonna stay. Like, but like in my situation, I haven't played in like 2 weeks, and it's like maybe more. It's like okay, do I go and get a place? Do I, like I'm not gonna go up into Snit's office and be like, all right, Snit, what's the deal?
What's it
Like,
look like?
yeah, like, hey, should I get this apartment? Um,
I'm
Can
thinking
you?
five
Well,
hole tomorrow. What do you think? You
yeah,
good with that? Just want to check it.
I will say, if you get an apartment, if they decide to do something, team has to pay for it. You're not on the hook for that.
yeah. I didn't know if that was a myth or not, and it's just like I am just at such a point where it's like and like, do I ship my car out here? Because then if I have to ship it again at some point, I'm like, I might just leave it here and never
Yeah.
find it again.
Yeah, then it's on you. Can you talk
Yeah.
a little bit about just back to the question? Can you talk about like that's with the team and with the GM and with traveling sick, but like with the coaches, like you get into a clubhouse, coaches for the first time, you're an infielder, you have your hitting coaches, you have your infield coach, like they all know you can pick it, but like every team has a different way about going infield positioning, different hitting coaches, different theories. A lot of times the guys will try to get to know you just, they've looked at your stuff, but like
Yeah,
trying to
that's
get to
exactly yeah, that's
you really.
exactly right. Like when I got to more so Atlanta, they're like, hey, we watched a bunch of your spring, obviously you had a good spring. Like, what were you doing? Like, what's your routine like? What makes you click? What are the cues you're working with right now? Um, and it's tough because like I haven't played this year, so it's like, well, these are the cues I had 4 months ago in spring.
When I was playing every day or every other day.
Yeah, and it truly like that it's just like, yeah, I want to do this. Um, but it's hard because you can't really make the adjustment from at bat to at bat or, day to day where I'm like, hey, remember yesterday I said I was feeling this? It's like, okay, how was your BP? And it's like, oh, I felt like shit. And it's like, okay, well, it's all right.
Yeah.
You know?
And from the defensive side, like everybody has a different card. So like infield positioning wise, like I think every team is doing it now. You'll get a card and it'll kind of be where to play against each certain hitter, but everybody does it in a different way. Like we have a grid system in the outfield. Our infielders have we had one, Brian Butterfield had a 0 starting point, plus
Dude,
one, minus one, minus two, plus two. Like
his to this day was the best card that it was just so straightforward where it's like, hey, 0, 1, or 2. And it's like, okay, I take 3 steps this way, 3 steps again if I want to go in a different spot. Like, you know, I the Braves one for me, I just must have just not understood it right away. It's fine now. But like it's just even with the Mets too, it was a little bit different because we had a card in the spring to start and then we didn't have it again. But like Ian, I think if I could make like a template, I would use butter system. Like that's how like easy, but like hey, find your ground zero, and then everything else takes care of itself. And I think that is that's the basis anywhere. Like, hey, this is straight up. And I think, how we call the ground zero, like, hey, that's where you need to start no matter what.
Yeah.
Some have like color codes. And that's how when I was in the outfield for a few games last year, like that was, yellow was I think either deeper, and then green was you have to be more shallow. Um
That's crazy.
yeah, and
We use a grid, which is super easy. So like you find your zero out there and you have to find it on every different field. And like, you can use your landmarks of like this part on the wall, and like usually pads are either 3 feet or 5 feet pads on the kind of the sidewall. So you can kind of like, all right, that's 350. I need to be like 50, 50 feet in. So where does that put me on the like
do
how many
your
pads is
coaches
that?
do your coaches go out there during the day with the rangefinder?
No, I've done it before though, because like now I have my zero at most parks and like have a pretty good feel for it. But like the first year we were doing it, go out there with the rangefinder during BP and just kind of like check, like, all right, yeah, that's the right spot. And then a lot of fields will have the grass cuts will be like 5 feet or 3 feet, and then so you can kind of base how you move in the grid off the grass cuts. It's hard, like in Tampa, it was really hard because it's 315 down the line.
Wait, so
There's
you
no
go in feet? That's what you're doing?
feet.
Why don't really? Like on your card it says like, hey, be 307
Yeah, it says it'll
feet
say
away.
like you'll have a starting point of like 298, and then it's a 3x5 grid, so you can like move around. And so like you get a feel for it. Like it's not the easiest to start, but then you get a feel for it of like, all right, the first game of the series, you go out there, you have your number, right? So like you base it, I walk it in BP, and then you kind of base it off your landmarks and you find your spot. And like, all right, this is where I'm gonna start from. And then I know like if it's one box left is 5 feet, I'm like, well, I'm 6 feet. So like if I laid down and my head was on the spot, like that kind of makes sense. And then you kind of go off that. And then we get a report after the game that kind
Yeah.
of shows you like, and then so you can, if you need to change the next year, like, oh shit, I was 10 feet deep today, you go the next day and adjust a little bit. But like, I like our grid. It's a little bit more
That's
precise.
that's
It's more,
wild.
it's more, what we used to do, like when I got called up, like it was like straight up, slight
Yeah.
oppo, slight pull. And it just, this system is much more exact. And I think gives us, like, even if you miss it, it's like aim small, miss small. Like, even if you miss by a little bit, you're probably more exact than
But like
you.
chances are, like if you're in somebody's oppo, like your grid would probably put you in the same realm.
Yes. I mean, you're not going to like go stand on the line. Like,
Right.
it's just, I think we're accounting now for more extremes of like, if you have a dude who to the backside like really can't possibly hit it over your head, like that used to be like oppo and like in, and like the outfield coach would like tell you to come in, but now it's like no, like you're playing at 250 feet because like this guy is not going to hit it over your head. And I think that it's just some of the extremes are probably a little bit more extreme. And you have some guys like Yandy Diaz as an example, like his spray chart's crazy. Like he hits the ball down the line, pull side a little bit, but he peppers the left center gap, and there's almost nothing in left field. So like I was playing in Tampa, like all the way in the gap, and the first ball of the first game, he hit me 114-mile-an-hour line drive directly at my face, and I caught it.
Dude, he
And
hits the
I was like, we're the best positioning team ever. This is unbelievable.
he hits the ball so hard.
Can I give you, he does so hard. Can I give you one thing about analytics before we do our screen time, get the people out of here? You get no credit as an outfielder for standing in the right spot or as an infielder. I maybe a little bit of credit as an infielder because like if a guy hits at 110 at you, you still get points. But like if you're an outfielder and you stand perfectly and you position yourself perfectly and the guy hits a billion, they don't reward you because the catch probability, because you didn't have to move, is like 99. It's like, yeah, but I chose to stand there. Like I did my job and chose to be in the right spot.
Can I ask you guys? So, how much of that, like you talked about last week, I think it was did Dansby and Nico each kind of line up where they feel more comfortable? How much of that is like, because you talked about Dansby feels better, I think it was going to his backhand, Nico feels better going to his strong side. how much of that is like a negotiation? Like if they want you in a certain spot and you're like, hey, I don't feel comfortable in that spot. How much of that is up for negotiation? How much of that is like, hey, this is where we're putting you, like that's the spot.
I'm
I
sure
think it,
sure those two might have a little bit more say than if I went up there and said, "Hey, Skip, yeah, no, I ain't playing over there." Like,
yeah,
but again, like, sorry to cut you off, Ian. Like when I played with the shift, when I was playing, um, short with Detroit, like, you know, or even now, like if you're all the way up the middle as far as you could be, like, hey, I'm not comfortable being straight behind the pitcher. Like, hey, I'm gonna take a step this way, and they're like, yeah, that's fine. Like, hey, if and for the most part though, like if I feel a certain way, like, hey, I can't get to my backhand as well as my forehand or whatever, and I tell them that right away, like, hey, is it okay if I shade one step this way because I know that I'm weaker going that way? I'm sure that they wouldn't have an issue with it if it didn't turn into an issue, like a problem.
yeah. And I think you build rapport. Like if you just get to a team and you tell them that, they might give you like, all right, yeah, let's like one step. And then like after they see it and it's working, it's like, oh yeah, man, like you need to be 3 steps over because god damn it, are you good going to your pull side or your glove side? And then like for guys like Dansby and Nico, like both Gold Glove winners, both great players, like been here, like Nico's been here for a long time. Dansby's this is his second year. Like you get, at that point, it's like, yeah, everybody knows what you do well. And I've talked about in the outfield too, of like, if you're better going in, if you're better going to one side, like looking at that stuff and making the adjustments based on it, because it makes a big difference. And like who's playing next to you also impacts that. Like when Pete Crow Armstrong is in center field, like I basically know that if he's on my side, any ball that goes up in the middle of the field, he's going to catch it. So I can shade a little bit more towards the line in certain situations because he is the fastest man alive. All right, we had a really good job today. We had a really good job. Dakota who? Let's do the Sloan screen time presented by our friends at Sloan. Don't forget Music Box Theater, June 20th. That's this Thursday, compound 30, musicboxtheater.com for tickets. We can't wait to see you there. Tom's fired up. Tom, fired up face. Oh, that was Tom's fired up face for everybody watching. Sloan is the world's leading manufacturer of commercial plumbing systems. The company is at the forefront of the green building movement and provides smart, sustainable, and hygienic restroom solutions by manufacturing water-efficient products, including flush meters, faucets, sink systems, soap dispensers, and fixtures for commercial, industrial, and institutional markets worldwide. To learn more, visit sloan.com.
340.
Zach, go first.
343.
444.
211. 211, I'll take the W. Thank you very much. Felt good. Felt great. Dakota's screen time. We need Dakota's screen time. Like when he gets home, though.
God.
We need like a late when he gets back screen time because that thing's going to be outrageous.
Luckily, we got a live show this week where we can just force him on stage to admit it because it's going to be ridiculous.
He will. That's episode 212, 213. 213, got it right, of the Compound Podcast presented by Parse Rum. Go to Binny's. Get your Parse, bring your Parse to the live show. Maybe we'll give out. Well, definitely they're doing samples. That's actually confirmed. They're doing samples.
Parse's there. Obvious Shirts is there.
Yeah, Parse's there. Obvious Shirts is there. All of our friends. Danny Mueller's there. We will do maybe a couple signed bottles too. That would be great.
No hot take from Danny this week. He's saving it for
He
Thursday.
gave a hot take, but we were chopping so fluidly there that it didn't make the cut. It was a bad take.
That was because
What was the take? Can we just hear the take real quick before we go?
Okay, and maybe we can talk about it next week. He likes ketchup on potato chips. He said ketchup on potato chips is good. It's a good snack.
That's a very Canadian take. They have in Canada they have ketchup flavored potato chips, so you should go move there. That's an awful take though as an American.
It's gross. Episode 213. We'll see you next week.